Welcome to It Starts With Courage podcast with Kat and Jen. What is it? It's everything. Everything you want in life starts with courage.
Have you ever seen those people on TV that flip houses and they're like, yeah, I'm going to renovate this whole 3,000 square foot house for $10,000. And this bathroom is going to take me $200 to remodel, and I have to retile it and put new countertops and new flooring. Like, and it's like, no wonder you're struggling. Like when you're like, ridiculous to get started with, like, come on, do a little research, get on Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever and price out some things. And like, let's get some good expectations of what things are going to cost. Not that a bathtub costs $5 and then you're going to be like complaining in 10 minutes that, you know, you're $10,000 over budget. Well, what did you think was going to happen?
I guess sometimes when you try and pinch the penny too much, like things end up just falling apart and quality is lacking. And
it's not even about pinching pennies. It's just about like, be realistic of what things cost and like
what it takes,
what a project takes to do.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of projects. So recently I took part in a Gym Wars event here. And it was organized.
Time out. What is Gym Wars?
Okay, so Gym Wars is basically this guy, Travis Stewart, owns the Stew Compound in Baton Rouge. And he had this idea to, I suppose, more of a community event, like bring out the community. There's so many different, since COVID, there's so many like small gyms, not even small gyms, but people who started their own gyms. They've become trainers, that kind of thing. And just for a bit more community spirit, and I guess maybe like not a meet and greet, but, you know, just something for the community. He was like, he would like to put on a Gym Wars. Obviously, everyone has whatever they do at their gyms, and you work out, and obviously you have the best results because you're going to have the best results. It's your gym, of course. And it was sort of like, we're going to have a gym versus gym competition.
Okay.
So it's amongst like however many gyms sign up, and you're going to compete in, I think we ended up with like maybe 7 events total. We had like a relay race where you're on the 400 track. You have to farmers carry with a trap bar 100 meters if you're on the first leg, and then run the other 300 meters. If you're the second person in the relay, you run to where that person left that farmers carry it 100 meters, and then run 200 for a total of 400.
Okay,
right?
yeah. So you have to get it all the way around.
You have to get it all the way around, basically. And then there were like pull-up competition.
Can you do a pull-up?
I can do a pull-up, but I was not competing in the pull-up one. So basically, you choose your best team member to take part in the event.
It's like the Olympics.
Yeah, kind of.
Put your best one forward.
Exactly. So the goal was to kind of create teams or have a team. It could be your gym members. It could be your trainers. So some other female trainers and I, who were just like personal trainers, formed a team. We were the only female team, may I say. Would you like to know our name?
Yes.
We were called Hustle and Muscle. Hustle and Muscle. But overall, it was just such an amazing event. Especially, I think what I was thoroughly impressed by was Travis himself, Travis and his team. I've organized events before, so I know what it takes to put on such events, but my events have always relied on like me and maybe like 2 other people, a few people actually performing or instructing. It's not that anyone is competing. But he had like a whole bunch of vendors from around the city coming in to set up, whether it's food, whether it's whatever it was. He made it onto the news, and then he had, obviously you had to organize the venue, you had to organize the flow of events, and he had to count on so many different people in his team, from the people running the check-in station, making sure everyone has their bands, making sure everyone knows where they're going, to the judges and the people actually running the events, making sure things start on time. Now, even though it was friendly competition, obviously things can get a little...
yeah, super competitive.
Right? Because, I mean, as nice as I am, I still want to win. And I was so impressed, one, by his leadership. One thing I could tell about him is he's not a loud guy. He's not someone who's talkative. He doesn't try and talk above anyone. He's more of just a listener. He's one of those people who leads quietly, should I say. One thing that stood out, though, is his team respected him. If anybody from the teams taking part had anything to say to the judges to this, they always consulted with him. There was no arguing between yes, no. And I also really respected that he asked his team members what they thought, how they should deal with the situation. I'm not going to lie, we got caught up in a situation where I was like, you guys are stealing our points. But they weren't. They were really just doing their best. And you know what it had me thinking? And even just looking around at all the different teams that were there, fantastic sportsmanship. Everyone just came out, had a great time. There were no egos involved in terms of my gym.
That's a little hard to believe, but
yeah,
okay.
I know it's hard to believe. And I think like even going into the event, I can't even lie, and personally, I thought, well, okay, what kind of egos are going to show up?
Right.
But when I say everyone got there and it was just about people became so engrossed in the activities and in just having fun. As we were the only female team, one of our teammates, India, at one point for the 60-meter dash, hit test or speed test or whatever it was, she was the only one running amongst guys. And she lasted like many rounds. And even people on the opposite team were cheering for her.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, that's awesome.
So it was just such a great spirit. And well, when I just saw how it operated, it had me thinking about who's on your team.
Yeah.
Right? Who's on your team in the sense that there were so many places that this could have gone wrong. When competition is heated, for example, if someone's saying, oh, you guys are doing this and you guys are favoring this and you guys are, it could have been the people on his team retaliating and choosing to react how they wanted to react, but they always kept his brand, his event at heart, consulted him, respected his word, vice versa. He respected them, made them feel valued. And I thought about, when you look at different businesses, different people who lead teams, and things that I've just, in all different types of industries, sometimes people think they have a good team, but they don't actually know who is on their team.
Oh my gosh. Mind blown.
And I say that like, I don't mean to say you have bad people around you, but are you surrounded by the right people for you to grow? In the sense that, do you like to surround yourself around people who idolize you, who think everything you do is perfect and will only tell you yes and agree with everything you say, even when they don't agree? Or are you surrounded by people who, one, actually think that they are a better leader than you? So there's no real respect there for you as a leader. So while they may, during a meeting, agree with you or basically say the things that you want to hear, they have no intention of actually carrying some of those, some of the tasks you've delegated through, or have no desire to raise your brand up. I say this I've come across several people who are part of a team, but speak badly about their team leader behind their back.
Mm-hmm.
And, to their face, completely different person, says completely different things. And it always has me thinking, in a situation like that where you think you have this team, people who are going to help you build, what does that look like when it comes to them representing you as a brand? How will your brand, what does that do for your brand? If you never mix up the water, have people who don't always agree with you, have people who actually believe you will listen to what they say, you value their opinion as it comes to your brand.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big question.
It's a loaded question. I guess it just had me really thinking about the people in my business who I have advising me, being that, let's say, even with just social media, you come across some people who just want to gain from it. So they pretend to be part of your team.
Right.
They pretend to be part of your team. And then you have people who are actually on your team who may point out some things that are not quite right. And it's up to you to sort of take it on board. If someone has a suggestion, hey, maybe you should try this. Have you thought about trying so-and-so when it comes to leads, or, when it comes to interacting with your clients, have you thought about trying so-and-so? But if you're that person who, one, shuts it down, what does that say? What does that teach your team members?
Not to bring that to your attention.
Or not to bring anything to your attention, because
you're just going to shut it down.
What's the point?
Well, I think I have so many different things going through my mind. We could take this conversation in a ton of different directions. But, I think one thing that we get, and I say we, I mean people in general, I think we get hung up on is especially women.
Yeah. Ooh.
Okay, I'm going to just say that. Women. I feel like if we have something, a lot of us, if we have something going on in our life, we talk about it, right? We give it legs. We give it energy. We're going to talk to this friend about it, or this friend about it, or this friend about it. And that just is that quote, what you focus on expands. If you just give attention to something, that becomes a bigger issue in our life. But a lot of the people that you're talking to about this topic to, if it's something you need advice on, are those people, like you said, just the people that are going to tell you what you want to hear? Or are those people qualified to give you advice? And I think that goes back to your team. Are you surrounding yourself with people that are, maybe the same level or less than you in knowledge of certain life events or skills or what to do in these situations? Are the people that you're talking about this problem to, are you just talking to them for the sake of talking about it? Or are you asking them advice? And what if you're asking their advice and their opinion, are they qualified to give that advice or opinion? What makes you want to take advice from them? And I think that goes back to who you have on your team, right? Because, if you're the leader of the group, you want talented people on your team, but there's a fine line between talent that's going to try to take over your position.
Yeah.
But you also don't want people that are that shouldn't be in that arena in the beginning.
I think the one that scares me the most is having talented people who don't actually want you to succeed. So even in times where they can give you the best advice, they won't. So
how do you identify those people?
By listening to the rest of your team, because I feel that you're one person. You don't have to know all the answers, right? I do think, though, that if you're surrounded by a diverse group of people, there would be people who would be able to identify red flags to you.
Yes.
And now at that point, it's on you to, do you listen or take note of some of these red flags? See if it's a developing pattern, or do you ignore it and just say, no, it's fine as it is? Because maybe one, you're scared to actually address.
It goes back to the hard conversations.
Mm-hmm.
I had years ago a real estate team where I added someone to the team that was just cancer.
Yeah.
And they slowly infiltrated every single person and just put ideas in people's heads and caused drama and problems to a point where, I had to fight, I had to either fire or people quit.
Yeah.
Like almost the whole team had to start over. And that's from one person.
Yeah. And sometimes that can be the most talented person.
Yeah. And they can act like they're on your team, like they're wanting you to win.
But they really don't. And they also just don't respect you as a leader, feel that they could probably do better. There was a brand that I had did like a small mini partnership with. And there were two owners when they started this business. It turns out as, things were growing, one of the business partners was more on the financial side. And all she was doing was embezzling the money.
Oh.
Yes. So I think the other partner was the one who was more in product development and whatnot. I think because there was the team at the time may have been diverse, but it's almost there was a barrier as if this team member is untouchable, so they're okay. Even if people identify red flags, they're okay. They could never, but actually that was the person hurting you and the brand the entire time.
That reminds me of, I was on Instagram one day and I was watching one of those Steve Harvey videos, like motivational videos or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he was talking about how he had an accountant that did all of his like taxes and stuff. And so this person was like on his team for like a really long time. And every year he'd be like, all right, you owe like $2 million in taxes. And he would see the money leave his account and for the amount that he said. And then he thought that was going to his taxes. Well, like 5 years later, he's getting like all these notices from the IRS that he didn't pay taxes for the last however many years. And he ended up owing like $22 million.
Oh my gosh.
And it was the person he trusted with his money that was taking that money from taxes, but not paying the IRS. It was leaving his account, but it was going to the accountant's account.
Oh my gosh.
So it's like, that's like one of those things that you have to, even when you do trust people on your team, you have to inspect what you expect.
Yes. They say even if you have a task, every result or whatever it is that they produce, you should make sure to give it a once over so that you actually know what's going out. I don't know. Teams are hard. I think loyalty is one of those things you can't buy from people. And it takes a special team and a special group of people who can see your vision your way and want to carry it out and inspire people in that same way through whatever your brand is. So I think I would just encourage people with this to make sure they have diversity in their team. And if everything just seems too good, no one opposes anything, introduce somebody who may not always
shake things up a little bit.
May not always agree with you. Ask that person who you know may always tell you the truth and you're actually scared to hear the truth.
Boom. Thanks for listening to this episode of It Starts With Courage podcast with Kat and Jen. If you like this episode of the podcast, visit our website, iswcpodcast.com, for show notes and other cool things.